I took the athlete route. I played all the sports and had some good success there, and went to college for a little bit playing football, running track. I did all the little play day stuff that you do as a kid, but when it came down to the high school rodeo or cuttings, I was too busy with all the other things. Kind of decided there. I thought, it's time to go. It's time to double down and go. So quit school, much to my parents' dismay, but we went on and spent 5 years out there in Muleshoe breeding on those large dairies. We built a new facility and new tack room, and I'll find myself staring at the wall at the bits, like, well, what do I think I need today? What I'm going to get accomplished? What does this horse like? And most times, 9 times out of 10, I think it comes back to, it doesn't matter, within reason. It doesn't matter. Just get something in them and get along.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. Today we got Logan McWilliams. He has a background in cutting horses and the cutting horse industry, and then also he's in the reproduction side of, I don't know, what do you say your job title is? You do AI and breeding and ultrasound. How do you describe that?
So, I'm just a technician on the female side of things. So we do anything from pregnant cows to AI to embryo transfer. I work there at Champion Genetics in Canton, Texas, and we're a full service repro clinic for the bulls and cows both.
Okay. And I met you through Cash, our mutual buddy, and I guess your grandpa's place over there they had leased, and that's a pretty cool old facility up there. The first part I saw, and then we go down to your parents' house, and y'all have another little setup down there. What was that like growing up? Was like your family always involved in cutting, or what did they do?
So that ranch is a pretty neat little place. My family, my great grandfather came out of Clovis, New Mexico, and bought that place back in the 1920s, and we've had it ever since. And right there where it sits at 20 and 64, we got to see all of that come in and develop. And that big red barn that's there on that hill is where they actually housed all the mules and the equipment to build 64 back when all that was coming through that Myrtle Springs area, which was the thriving metropolis at the time. It had the mineral waters and the natural springs that everybody came there for. Through the time, my grandfather was big into the commercial flower business. They grew gladiolas on that whole place. It was a big gladiola farm. And they got out of that and they got into the Simmental business, where all the pens came from, all those holding pens, and they had on a production sale on the whole 9 yards, and then developed into the cutting horse business. They tried to make a big splash in the 80s and the 90s in the cutting business, and they had some big-time trainers come through there that helped me get my foot in the door later on in life. Not that I'm anybody now. I just ride a few colts. But, so as a kid, it was really cool. We always had some really nice horses standing around, some really good hands come through there, and getting to watch all that go down. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. Did you show any as like a kid and like in high school and stuff? Did you go to some shows and have some of your own horses, or? No,
actually, quite the opposite. I took the athlete route. I played all the sports and had some good success there, and went to college for a little bit playing football, running track. I did all the little play day stuff that you do as a kid, but when it came down to the high school rodeo or cuttings, I was too busy with all the other things.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So when did that come into play? Because now you kind of ride some outside horses.
Yep.
You rode some for me, and trained some of your own, and partner with Cash on some and stuff like that. When did that come about? Was that like after high school, or?
So I never just didn't ride. We always had horses standing around, and I'd always rode. But when I got to college, I went to school on a football track scholarship, and I ended up leaving that, coming back to SFA, and there was a professor there, Dr. Joe Gotti, and he really kind of got me into riding a lot of colts and riding some horses through the school, and that just kind of grew one thing after another.
That's kind of what you do now, right? Like the 2-year-old deal is what you really like, is actually starting them.
Yep. So getting them going, the popular fad of the whole natural way of doing things, and just getting horses real broke, getting them on cows. That's kind of my niche there before they go into a bridle and somebody really getting on through them. So.
What's that process look like? If we sent you one, that just turned 2 right now, do you have some right now like that?
Yeah.
That are like just maybe halter broke or something? Like
yep.
How do you go through that? Like you just go through your steps, kind of what you would do with one.
So I like them, for me, when they come to me, the more raw, the better. I'd like to just get them in a pen, in that, that round pen, that breaking pen where everybody starts, and just develop a foundation relationship with that horse, get hooked up with them, get that communication going on where they're paying attention to me, responding to me, and kind of however long that takes. And then we just start into a bit of the desensitization. I don't want to just get them numb, like a lot of guys really work for. I still want to be able to step on them and have them move out. I for sure want to get by all the buck and the scare, but I just try to get them broke enough, pulling their head around, and get them comfortable enough with me that getting a saddle on them and getting on them is not that big a deal. And then just get them moving out and go from there.
Do you drive them and stuff?
I don't. I just never have.
Yeah.
I never really even seen anybody do it. I've seen videos of it, but I've never been around it. For me, it's just getting on them with a halter the first time and just trying to get them broke that way.
Yeah. I kind of go back and forth with Shady on this, because I like to, there's so many different ways that you could do it, and you can get to the same outcome a bunch of different ways, but
for sure,
I like to just get them to where you can get on them. I don't like to start them, but if they have a few rides where I can just get on them and go, that's kind of how I like them. And then, I can do all that other stuff on their back, as long as I can get them to pull around and disengage their hips where they're not going to get away from me or something, and I can get on them and go. I can teach them, I'm not a horse trainer really, but like I can teach them to do everything I want, to go to different directions and stop and collect a little bit and stuff like that. But I know everybody has their different ways of doing things.
Yep. Yeah. So, in that round pen, I just want to be able to, like you're saying, I know that they're not going to run off and not going to do anything too dumb. And I try to spend 5 or 6 rides in the round pen and then just get them out.
Yeah.
And let them travel and let them try to, as I say, find their feet, get some direction to them, get them using their feet and using their ribs. And I mean, all that comes a little later, but just get them out, get them traveling, and work on them from there.
So I want to ask you about like 2 different aspects. Like if you were going to just partner on one like you do with Cash or something, how long do you mess with them, getting them started before you send them to somebody like him to go gather cattle on or rope or, use them outside?
I mean, for sure it's each individual case, but I want them to be able to, sure enough, bridle up, try to get them one-handed, where you can pick the ribs up and get them to bridle up and get to where you can kind of kick them around. Maybe they're not just completely reining around and doing things nice, but get them to where he can get out there and still do his job, but get by on a younger horse.
Yeah, and I think, like, I've never rode. I mean, we have some good horses, cowbred horses that we buy now, but as far as like when I was riding some outside horses, it was, just 30-day, maybe a 60-day type deal, and just whatever, and you could tell a difference in the breeding. I've had a couple come in that were pretty nice, and in about 5 to 10 rides, I mean, you could I could take them to the sale barn or go do something on them, and you can pick them up, back them up, side pass them, open gates on them and stuff. Maybe even swing a rope on them. And then there's some that it's like you're at day 45 and they're still trying to kill you.
Yep. For sure. This breeding deal has the curve is just so steep. These horses are just getting better and better and better. And it seems like anymore, you kind of joke about trading on papers, but those papers mean something when they come out of money winning mares and some nice studs. And it 9 times out of 10, they're going to start themselves. Yeah. You just stay out of their way. Most all of them stop. Most all of them turn around. And for sure, you're going to get some hotter personalities, some horses that move their feet a little faster than others. But as long as you develop that communication, and knowing where those horses are at or what they're going to, an idea of what they're going to do and how they're going to be, well, then, you can get around a lot of that.
Yeah. Do you think there's like when you look at a horse's papers, can you kind of tell what they're going to be a little bit? I mean, everybody has like, oh, you got a so-and-so horse. I bet he does this. They kind of stereotype them. But what do you think about
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy conversation. And the arrogance in me will say, yeah, we can pretty much figure that out. But no, I mean, each one of them's different. We've got a couple horses now, and one of them is pretty hard to get by. He's immensely talented, but he's just hot. And I wouldn't have seen that coming. I wouldn't have thought that whenever we bought him. But
what about, that's your job is all genetics and reproduction. So like, do you see anything like that on the cattle side when you're doing stuff like that? If you breed this and this, what you're going to get? I mean, you're not dealing with their personality as much, I guess, really. Right. Just the beef side of it.
I mean, that's the whole driving deal now, especially with the bull market and how we're trying to place these bulls into the commercial herds with using genomics and EPDs and trying to predict what their progeny are going to do. And that's what drives the whole industry.
Mm-hmm. How to get into the genetic side of stuff, the other side of your business, where did that come from? Like, how did you get started in all that stuff?
Pure accident. I was, again, going to school. I when I left high school, I went to Harding University, a D2 school up in Arkansas, and I played sports for them, and it was a liberal arts school. So I just picked a major like anybody else, and quickly found out that none of that was for me. So I came back to Texas to go to SFA.
Were you doing like a liberal arts?
I was an English major, of all things. Yeah. So came back to SFA, got an animal science degree, wanted to do horse repro, so I was going to try to do my undergrad, be a veterinarian. I wasn't exactly sure what job I wanted in horse reproduction, but I wanted to go down that route. Mm-hmm. And had a family friend that we were at a wedding one time, and he was talking to me, and he was the president for COBA. COBA is a member of a larger cooperative, Select Sires, and they're one of the major bull studs in the country. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he was saying, if you ever wanted a summer job or internship or whatever else, I'll send you out there to the Panhandle to breed some cows. And so at the time, I kind of blew it off. I didn't really want to do the cow thing. Mm-hmm. But I got back and thought about it some more, and I took him up on it. I thought, well, kind of my deal. I never say no to an opportunity, right. Something like that where you have that kind of growth. Mm-hmm. So I called him, and I went out and moved to Dimmitt, Texas, and then on to Muleshoe, and lived out there for 5 years. Well, I went out there for a summer internship and bred cows for them on those large dairies out there, and came back to school for a semester. That was in 2008 when the whole housing market fell out. Yeah. And I was out of money, and I couldn't really see where this whole deal was going to go. I had this good opportunity in front of me, and young kid that my hobby is to work. I really, really enjoy that. Mm-hmm. So school I was having a lot of fun in school. Wasn't getting anything accomplished.
Yeah.
So So I just kind of decided there. I thought, it's time to go. It's time to double down and go. So, I quit school, much to my parents' dismay. But we went on and spent 5 years out there in Muleshoe breeding on those large dairies, and then
did you graduate school or you quit before you?
No, I quit. Didn't graduate.
And you regret that at all?
Yeah, there's for sure days that I do. It's not the easy road, especially not in my business.
But I think like if you had an opportunity, you kind of knew what you wanted to do with your life, so you had the opportunity to either keep going to school and getting taught about it, or you could just go start doing it and probably getting paid, like you're earning and you're learning. So I think that's a good way to get. Kind of depending on what you're wanting to do with your life, but if you can go ahead and get into the industry that you're wanting to without having to go to school, that real world experience has always treated me better than sitting in a classroom or behind a screen or something like that and trying to learn about it that way. And
I think most would agree, but at that moment in life, it was a decision of, okay, I'm going to have to work twice as hard. I knew it going into it, because I just didn't have that resume, and I'm not going to have that knowledge base. I'm going to have to go earn that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and going out there to those dairies, you're seeing a lot of cattle out there.
We'd breed, yeah. I mean, we'd breed 20 to 30,000 a year out there, and that was my biggest plus.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I had that experience to be able to move forward. I'd been in a lot of cows, and so that helped me a lot.
Yeah, I would think after a few years of that, I mean, you probably have more knowledge than somebody that went to A&M and graduated. Not to put down veterinarians that went to A&M, but by the time they're going to school and learning about it, and you've been in 120,000 cows.
So, kind of the reason I left the job, yes, I knew how to put semen in cows. I had that forwards and backwards, but
is all you were doing out there, was it just AI?
Yeah, so you just go into a dairy, find the cows that were in heat, breed them, and I got kind of bored with that. I enjoyed the job. It was fast paced. You essentially worked for yourself. I didn't have anybody looking over my shoulder. I just go into these places. You'd start at 3 o'clock in the morning, be done by 11 o'clock, and I'd ride colts the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was show up and go. It was really fast, and a lot of cows, and covered a lot of ground, and I really, really enjoyed it. But it was just finding cows in heat, putting semen in them, and I just kind of wanted to use my brain a little bit more than that. So that's when I started looking for a place where I could go into embryo transfer. And when I left school to go to Muleshoe, Champion Genetics wasn't there. It wasn't in Canton. It wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
So lo and behold, when I start looking around right here in my hometown, there's a place that I could go flush cows. And so I called them for a year, essentially begging for a job, and they didn't have anything at the time. A guy named Craig Barton owned the place, and still one of my greatest mentors and great friend, great guy. He just didn't have anything. And finally, a year later, he called me and said, "I think I got something for us to look at." And that's where it all started.
Yeah, I think it's all about who you know, and like finding that mentor probably changed your life.
Yeah, networking.
Mm-hmm. And just like that first guy that sent you out there to hook you up with the deal in the Panhandle.
Yep.
So what is it? What's your relationship with Champion, and like what all do y'all do there?
So I came to him just as a grunt, basically, and there was a guy flushing cows for him, John Broadway, who is probably my best friend to this day. He's and he was looking to retire, looking to slow down. He was there in the very beginnings of it all when they first started flushing cows, and he's come through it, seen it all, and so I learned under him, and I just whatever I had to do to get there and get it done and be under his tutelage. So I get there early and work through the cows, get everything prepared for him. When he showed up, then we started going, and that was my education. And that's come into now. I manage the female side of all of it. So that would be if it has anything to do with the cow at Champion, it usually goes somewhere through me.
Do y'all do like a lot of registered stuff? Are you still doing some dairy? What all industries and what are y'all doing there on species and industries and all that?
So we'll do anything that calls us. I mean, within reason, but we don't have any dairy cows to speak of. There's one large dairy down the road, and we've done a little bit of work with them, but not a lot. Usually those guys have their own in-house guys doing it. So yeah, 90% of it's all going to be registered cows, and then we'll still do some large herd commercial cow breeds where we can back up to the chute. We have a little breed barn that we run 2 cows at a time too, and we can do large numbers that way. And
y'all do embryo transfer, AI, and ultrasound?
Yeah. Ultrasound is a repro tool for us that we can use to pre-screen cows to know that they're cycling, to know where they're at in their cycle, so that we can make more educated decisions moving forward on how to get her in heat or when she's going to come into heat, kind of get those predictors in there. Also, we use it on the ET side, looking at follicular population or the potential of these donors, what we think they can do, what they're going to do. And then we have an IVF program where we use it for aspirations, follicle aspirations, taking those oocytes out of those cows for IVF.
Yeah. What about the bull side and the stud side of Champion? So what all goes on there?
We are what's considered a custom collection facility, which is basically like cheap insurance. You go out and buy, say you go to the stock show and you buy the lead off bull for your commercial cows. It gives you opportunity to collect semen on him and market that to sell, or also just put it up as insurance, mortality insurance on that bull. If he were to die and you've got 1,000 straws in the bank, well, then that sure helps extend his value and extend his life.
Right.
We don't own any of the bulls. It's just all custom collection. It's all clients that come in.
Therefore, and y'all store it there?
Yep. So we don't have a catalog where we're selling semen. That's not our business. We just collect our clients' bulls, and then we can help them through our website. We can help them market their bulls, where we'll just throw it up and put their contact information on there, or we just store it for whatever they sell on their own. We are a UPS hub. We ship out every day and take in every day, and a storage facility that's about 2.5 million units, I think, at the moment.
Cool. So if somebody has a badass bull or something, they can get in contact with y'all, collect them, and then also store it, and then y'all help with marketing of that too a little bit.
For sure. And we store, even it doesn't matter if we collected it or not. We store all kinds of specimen there. Anything that needs to be in liquid nitrogen, we pretty well got it.
Do y'all do anything with horses?
We had a horse, a stud service for 2 years, and it just didn't pan out. It wasn't going very well, and they got out of it. That was actually before me. That was in 2010, I think, and they got out of it.
So Champion's basically just the cattle side.
Just cattle.
Anything to do with cattle breeding, y'all can handle it.
Yeah.
And then you have one of the reasons I want to bring you on here was y'all have a cool opportunity also of teaching people how to do this and teaching a new skill, for somebody to have in their belt if they have a big operation or work for a big operation or something like that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Champion's always offered a AI school, and it seems like the more people I come across, it seems like everybody's been to one at some sort of time. AI is fairly simple. It doesn't take much to wrap your brain around it. Just the process of doing it, and then go home and stay in cows. And the more you can stay in them, the better you're going to get. The more you can familiarize yourself with it.
It seems pretty simple we did it in cow tracks at Tarleton.
Yep.
And one of those classes just had a cow track on a table. You just stick the straw or the deal in there and squeeze it or whatever. And it seems pretty simple, which I've never done, and I'm sure it's more.
Yeah.
It's a little tougher than that.
Well, the demand for years and years and years since I've been there, we always had a waiting list, and we were like a year out on that waiting list trying to get people into these schools. We host 6 of them a year, and we always capped the class at 10 because we were doing it out of a trailer that would hold 10. So last summer we decided to double down and build a new facility. We built a new classroom and a new stanchion stall where we can put those cows in there, and there's we can hold 20 cows at a time now. So we doubled our class size to 20, and it's taken off. We've got new curriculum, and we're now offering to be able to teach you the ultrasound, and so you can preg your own cows and know what you got. It's a big tool for these big ranches. 300 head plus, you're losing money by not being able to do these things. The genetic potential, the managing potential of having these tools in your toolbox is too much to ignore anymore.
Yeah. Do you think it's easier to learn how to ultrasound than to palpate?
Yeah, for sure. With the ultrasounds that we offer, they have those extension arms. I'm sure you've seen that where you stick that probe inside the cow and it comes up. That eliminates the feeling that you have when you're palpating those cows. When you get in there, it's a sensory overload, and it's also you have no idea what you're feeling in the first place. So your hand is in the way a lot of times, and you're palpating and trying to figure out what's going on, trying to work through those rectal rings, and a lot of times you're your own worst enemy when you're trying to learn how to palpate.
Because you've got your mind in the way instead of just seeing, being able to look at it and see it and say, yeah, there's a baby in there.
Yeah. So through these schools, we teach you how to identify these pregnancies, looking at amniotic fluid and cotyledons and the actual fetus itself. And then the bigger thing is learning how to identify an open track and making sure that you're seeing either a pregnancy or a open cow before you pull out and go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing in most operations. It's like, it's nice to be able to know when they're going to calve, but if it's an older cow, it's not quite as important as just knowing if there is a calf or not,
Yep.
Most people aren't going to cull, they're going to pull their bulls anyway,
right.
So they're not going to cull so much on how far they're along. It's more on if they're open or not.
Yep. Usually those fall preg checks, that's all it is pregnant or open. They know when the bulls went in. They know when the bulls came out. Mm-hmm. They don't need to know anything else. Just pregnant or open.
And the ones I've been around, the ranches that I've been around that had an AI or an ultrasound guy come out, and especially if they got the glasses. Yep. I know there's a few different ways to do it, and but it's super fast.
It's rapid.
It's just bam, 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 bam. You're rolling through them instead of having to stick your arm in and have them stand right and fight them and all that stuff.
And it'll put years on a man's career too. Veterinarians or the guys that are arming cows, that are still doing those 20,000, 30,000 a year. It's a big deal to be able to put that probe in there, stay out of that chute, don't get kicked and don't get squished, and the longevity of your shoulder and your elbow and the whole 9 yards. It's a lot better deal. That being said, you need to be educated on exactly what you're looking at, because you can miss, and you can you can get in too big a hurry where you stick it in there and you don't see anything and you're calling her open, and maybe that's a deeper pregnancy or you just didn't have it positioned right and you're not looking at it. So that's what we're trying to do is educate people on that.
And when they come to that school, I mean, it's hands-on. They're going to be looking at tracks and leaving with the experience they need to go do it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll take them through a 100-slide PowerPoint of everything, the anatomy, where these pregnancies are going to be ideally in a perfect world, the what's and the whys and how ultrasound technology works, give you a better understanding of the equipment you're working with, and then the next day, we'll we'll go through however many we allot, usually somewhere 15 to 20 cows per student. But what we're doing is we'll have multiple monitors set up for these ultrasounds, and then there's a person at the chute that's doing it, and everybody else is looking and watching, because we can shoot that signal Wi-Fi to those monitors. So you're still getting those reps in, even though you're not actually running the probe.
Sticking it in.
Yeah. So you usually go through 100, 150 head of cows that day.
Cool. So where are those schools, and when are they, and how do they find all the info on that?
So our AI school there at Champion is the second week of the month. This spring will be March, April, May, and then in the fall will be September, October, November. They can contact Champion to get signed up for that. We have a website there at Champion Genetics at Yahoo, or there's a phone number there that you can find pretty readily available. Mm-hmm. For my schools, or the Repro Scan schools, we're going to have one in Morgan, Texas, at W4 Herefords on March 20th and 21st. And then we'll have another one in Decatur at the Scarborough Stanfield pens there on May 2nd and May 3rd.
And that was another thing that I wanted to bring up is you can actually set people up that come to those schools with the machine that they're using, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. We can send them packing that day if that's what they want to do. But it's not a requirement to purchase equipment. If you just want to come learn the skill, then we're all about it. But we also offer the purchase of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be pretty beneficial. You're going to go to that school, get familiar with that equipment and that exact setup and everything, and then you can walk away and make it easier to transition once you're home.
It's an investment, for sure. It's an investment, but we usually tell people it takes about 600 head to pay for it. A lot of the ranches that we're going into are doing that in the first year, even if they don't have 600 head. Mm-hmm. It gives them the opportunity of checking those cows multiple times. It gives them the opportunity of doing, 30 cow groups or 100 cow groups versus the whole ranch. You call somebody to come out now, and there's the pressure on getting the help lined up and getting those cows in the right spot and getting everything up and sorted, versus now, especially these guys running a lot of lease country, they can go from place to place to place. Mm-hmm. And it's a huge money saver on those where they're
you just got it in-house instead of having to line all that stuff up.
Right. Yes, sir.
Who do you mainly see at these schools? Are people or big ranches sending their hands, or is it personal people or doing their own operation, or what's that look like?
Quite literally all of the above, from the hobby guys that just enjoy the technology. We had a guy that was a computer programmer at a sheep and goat school in San Angelo, and he just enjoyed the technology. He had sheep and goats, but he just enjoyed the technology. And he just loved it. Yeah. And then these big ranchers, yeah, for sure, they're sending their guys. In fact, that's going to be the majority of my phone calls is wanting to send their guys to learn.
Yeah, and I think it's a really cool thing to be able. That's what this podcast is about. Is showing new opportunities to increase your income, to increase your skill level, your skill set, add new skills, and I think that'd be anybody involved in cattle. You could go learn, whether you're a day worker and you can offer that service, or you have your own cattle that'll help you cull easier and save you money from having to hire somebody. Or if you're not in it yet and you're planning on, maybe you're in college or whatever, and you're planning on doing something in the cattle industry, at some point you could go to this school and then have that in your resume when you go apply for a job. Say, hey, I can also offer this service. Yeah, I mean, the cost of the school is cheap. It's $650 to go to school. It's a heck of a thing to have on your resume that you can do that. For sure, it makes you more marketable, and it's just more knowledge. I mean, it's just another thing that you can do. Check that box. Yeah, you gotta have the right skills if you want to increase your income. Yes, sir. Going back to the horses, I want to ask you a few questions. What is your favorite horse that you've owned, and then maybe one that you've watched, and that can be from a pony as a kid that you just rode around on to your favorite cutting horse? Or I know when I talked to Luke Spurlock that he says he owns your favorite horse that you've ever rode. So
yeah. The favorite horse I've ever rode is a mare that I still own. Some nostalgia there. So back when my family was trying to be big in the cutting horse deal, they partnered with a guy in Dallas. He was a chiropractor, Dr. Elvin Blackwell, and he owned Doc Wilson, who was a stud that stood there in Martin's Mill. And we had a million of them things standing around. I mean, a bunch of them. And so my dad rode a gelding, won a lot of money on him, and then a mare that was also out of that, and then that mare was what he was riding in when I was in college, and that was a lot of push for me to. It was fun going and watching him and just whooping them. I mean, This mare was awesome. She was fast, and she was little, but she was fast and could get around and was just immensely cowy. So we bred her, and the first horse that I trained was the mare that I'm talking about. So she's a sweet little Pepto out of that Doc Wilson mare. And she's a little crazy. She's pretty hot, but she's so quick and eager to please, and just wants to do right. She's very sensitive, and anybody can ride her, but it takes some learning to ride her successfully, I guess you'd say. But she's still kind of a go-to for me.
How old is she now?
Oh, she's 9, I think. Mm-hmm. And sound and fine, and we've raised a few colts out of her, sold a few babies out of her. But she's my favorite.
Do you show her any or anything like that anymore?
I was so broke and learning how to actually train a show horse. Mm-hmm. And she's extremely nice, and a lot of people have complimented her on her. When you lay your hand down, she knows her business, but to no fault of her own, I just never did show her.
Yeah.
But my favorite horse that I've been watching is I don't know. I fell in love with Hottish Metal that Adon rode last year or last 2 years, campaigned, and that horse is pretty cool. I saw him at the Futurity and didn't know anything about him. I wasn't in the loop, didn't know what was going on. I just picked him out in the loping pen and said, that is a specimen. And sure enough,
the look.
Yeah, he was cool. I liked him.
Do you keep up with the cutting horse deal pretty good, and you go to watch the shows and stuff like that still?
Oh yeah. Every chance I can, I go to Fort Worth, and I don't know, that's inspiration for me. I like watching these guys work the horses. I like going to the practice pen and watching it, and it fuels the fire to want to, especially when I'm fed up and don't like what I'm riding and don't like what I'm doing. Most times I'm just mad at myself.
Yeah.
To be able to go to those practice pens and watch those guys get through their horses, and for the good and the bad, and take home what I've watched, what I learned, try to pick up what those guys are doing.
Yeah, I think any industry or sport, the more you take in, you can learn something from everything and everybody, whether it's good or bad, and say, I don't want to do that, or hey, that's a pretty cool little trick there. I might take it home and see what I can do with that. Yeah, I think, for me, it's been in the last 5 years, I've evolved so much from trying to use my reins as point and shoot to now I'm way less in their mouth and more in their ribs, and trying to frame those horses up more. And I used to just worry about the front end coming through the turn, and now it's a full body movement, paying attention to their wither and getting their shoulders out of the way and getting their hip into that cow and letting them come through themselves. And I mean, for sure their feet are important, but I'm not so much worried about getting those horses to just draw and come through. Now it's more of what's their body doing, and how does this individual horse turn around, and how can we get that
crisper, smoother, cleaner.
Yeah, breaking it down all the way, I guess.
Yeah, and not being in such a hurry. You know, that's one of my favorite things about, instead of riding so many outside horses, now I'm riding more horses that we own, and you can kind of let them develop.
Yeah, instead of being in a hurry and having deadlines and all that.
Yeah, and my biggest training tool is just sitting on them, just in the middle of them, just putting the time on them, and just staying in the middle of them and letting them have the reins and just ride them. Let them kind of figure themselves out and come back to you and get comfortable with you, with what you got going on and with your hands, and once you have that communication down, for me, I mean, there's nothing you can't do at that point.
Yeah. I believe in that totally. Just riding the horse, taking imperfect action. I mean, you could form some bad habits, but you could always, work on those and correct them. And so much of it is just getting on and going. I heard that, I think it was on the Gauge with Clinton Anderson, and they were talking about, if you just got on the damn horse and rode him instead of sitting around and thinking about the best way to do it and the best bridle to ride and all this, if you just rode your horse and you would pick up maybe some stuff. For one, your horse is probably going to get better the more you ride them, no matter what you're doing. And then also you're probably going to develop more of a feel and then get to know that horse a little bit better, what you could do better, and you could go improve on it, later.
Yeah, I mean, well, what you just said, we built a new facility and new tack room, and I'll find myself staring at the wall at the bits, like, well, what do I think I need today? What I'm going to get accomplished? What is this horse like? And most times, 9 times out of 10, I think it comes back to, it doesn't matter, within reason. It doesn't matter. Just get something in them and get along.
Yeah. And I mean, it comes down to anything. I think if you're wanting to do something, just get started. Because that's what I did with this. I was like, I put it off. I've had it on my mind for a while, and I was like, okay, after the first year, I'm going to get it going. And I'd bought some equipment and stuff, enough I could do it myself. And then luckily, we found this studio and Taylor here to produce it, and it's probably a way better product. But I was just ready. I was like, I know myself, like I get something on my mind, I just need to get started.
Yeah. And
that's what holds a lot of people back. I think you have all these good ideas, but nobody knows them because you never act on them. And it can relate to business or sports or riding horses.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big thing in my whole childhood of that imposter syndrome or being scared to get going, and that was a big thing with my dad. Was just, who cares? Fake it till you make it. Just figure it out. And it's still my everyday of just go.
Yeah.
And don't do wrong, but don't do right. Right. I mean, just figure it out.
Yeah, you'll have a few mistakes, but
you're going to screw up. Yep.
But you can learn from those. I mean, you can perceive them however you want to, but even if you mess some stuff up, you can learn from that, and it just is the best thing to do is learn from somebody else's mistakes, but the next thing is learning from your own, and then the next thing would be not doing the thing at all.
That thing, yeah, right.
Which is going to get you nowhere.
If we could all get that figured out, it'd be good.
Yep. So on that, like you were saying, you were talking about a Don's horse and just seeing him ride around and the horses you're riding now. What do you look for in a horse? So
same thing that most everybody's looking for, I guess. For me, I want to see a big butt on them, and I want to see a high wither on them, and looking at their hocks and where their stifles are over their hocks, and I want to be able to see that horse can draw and lift their wither and come through their ribs, and those are the biggest things for me. For sure, the aesthetic of them. We want the pretty ones. The pretty ones sell, but my biggest thing is just seeing that horse can move around.
Yeah, I think that like what you're describing is what I like. A big butt is my main thing, and like their tail to tie in, low.
Yep.
I hate riding a horse that their tail sticks up.
Yeah.
But I think that goes for, like you're describing, a cutting horse is what you're relating it to, but that's pretty much anything. I think a head horse and a barrel horse are probably going to be a little bit leggier and taller and bigger, but you still probably want the same thing, big butt, withered tie-in right, and all that stuff. So
that's all the heated debates at my house. I've got a beautiful girlfriend that is a avid barrel racer enthusiast. And we butt heads quite a bit about what we're trying to get out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got an immensely talented mare that I really, really like. She was trained as a reiner and a cow horse, and so it's a treat for me to still get on her because she's so talented.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lindsay went on to run barrels on her, and whenever has some frustrations or things are going on, I always want to get on and see what I can do.
Yeah.
And it's quite the argument because I'm trying to draw her and I'm trying to get her moved back, and that's completely opposite of everything that she's trying to get out of her. And we both think we're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to say barrel racers, but also just rodeo people in general. A lot of them think that, you don't want to get them broke is what we would call it, be able to control their head and every piece of their body. You see a barrel horse or bulldogging horse or something like that, and you want them to be jacked up on the muscle and have their head up in the air, and you can't really stop them or anything. But really, you could have both. Yeah, I think.
I don't know enough about it. I rope just barely enough to knock the hat off my head. But I know that if you can control that horse, with your body, if you can pick that rib up when you hook that cow, if you can just lay your right leg on them and get that horse to move off and kick that hip in and be able to move their hips and move their shoulders and pick their wither up, I think it's a game changer. I mean, the control you can have over that cow going out there.
I think it's evolved so much in the rodeo and all these other events, like the rein cow horse is getting really big, and that's crossing over into, and you're getting them really broke in that because you're doing the different events. So you're getting them really broke and they're having cow, and then crossing over into the roping and like what Trevor and Miles and Melanie and them are doing up there, they're breeding an actual rope horse instead of taking taking rejects from other disciplines. And they're showing that you can get one very broke. Miles gets them really broke and Trevor too, and put a good foundation on them, but also go rodeo on them.
It makes all the difference in the world when that horse is having a bad day, but they're still broke, and you
got something to fall back on.
Then you can go to something. Yeah. And I would argue even still like in the cow horse deal, I hadn't wrapped my brain around it completely, or the cutting. That you still want them kind of wild enough that they're going to show that expression on a cow, and you don't want to rob any of that from them. Yeah. But you still, if you look at what's winning, those horses are so broke, so broke. So there's a trade-off in there that you can't take that expression from them, but you also want to be able to do all the cool stuff on them.
Yeah. Well, I think I heard Cody Porterfield talk about this before, I think on a podcast or something, and he'd spent some time with Buster and working on his ranch out there, and he told him, he said, if you make that what's the magazine called, the Chatter, Cutting Horse Chatter?
Yeah, the Chatter. Yeah.
He said if you make it on the cover of that, you're gonna be dang sure riding a cow horse. Yeah. That's not just something you put in a horse or something like that. And I think, if a horse is a cow horse, you can do all this different stuff to them and have them running barrels or whatever you want to do, but you put them in front of a cow, they're still going to perform. Alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you spend a lot of time on the road and traveling and stuff, going to different ranches and putting on schools and breeding cows. What do you listen to? Do you listen to audibles or podcasts or just music?
Yeah. I used to just strictly listen to music. These podcasts came along, I don't know, when was that?
They've gotten real big in the past few years.
Yeah, past few years. And for sure. And what you've already mentioned, the Gauge, when Clinton made that just blow up, and then yours here lately. And then for whatever reason, I've gotten big into racing. Anything that races, I love it. And not
like
just
horse
talking about
racing and
cars
racing.
and everything. Can't explain it. Never done it. Don't know anything about it, but I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about motorcycle racing?
Yeah.
Another fun fact is Logan hooked me up with my first motorcycle, and it went from taking up room in his barn to now it's taking up room in mine.
I figured you hauled it straight to somebody.
No, I haven't found anybody yet. So if there's a mobile motorcycle mechanic out there
putting that ad out right now,
yeah, that would like to come work on it and then also give me lessons after, that would be cool. So,
yeah.
What about books? Are you a book reader?
So one of my clients just wrote a book or finished his book. He's been writing it for a long time. George Berg. It's called Letters Home, and he was a Vietnam vet, and it's supposed to be one hell of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got that sitting on my counter. I'm about to have a long airplane ride this week that I'm planning on starting it. And then I've read some Colt starting books and some motivational self-help stuff. And kind of a World War II fanatic as well. So anything that has to do with World War II, if it's a movie, video, TV series, or book, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, all those stories have always fascinated me in movies and all that stuff from even to modern times.
Yeah,
those guys, they're a different breed.
They're awesome. One of my biggest regret is not doing anything in the military, and I understand that that's a large undertaking, and I respect those guys, to the end. But I really wish I'd have done something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're living their life to the fullest.
Yeah. Those guys are crazy. What about daily habits? Is there what's a typical day look like for you?
Start as early as I can, and really. The different things that I do, you just kind of never know what's coming at you. I live my life on my calendar because through this ET stuff that's very regimented, scheduled out, and then these ultrasounds deals going down the road, trying to get all my horses rode. Used to be a big workout guy. I've fallen from that a little bit, but would like to get back into it. I just believe in taking care of yourself and that health. But every day's a little bit different.
Putting lots of miles on your pickup.
A lot of miles on my pickup, trying to trade off and get another one at the moment. But, burning up the roads. We usually, we have kind of a clinic setting there at Champion where we can house about 300 head of cows. And we get there and work through the cows that are on the schedule for that day. And then just looking at the whole herd, keeping your eyes on cattle, same as any guy that's running cows, and and then from there it's usually branching out, going and putting eggs in or flushing cows or setting up cows for a further date.
Yeah. Kind of an off the wall question for you. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
All beef. Whatever it is, it's beef. And I have dove off into this wagyu. We've got several wagyu clients, and this whole beef industry's become such a boutique thing. And then the genetic potential of what we do and how fast that production curve can be. You can go in the right direction or the wrong direction really, really fast, utilizing embryo transfer or AI, both. And just it started out as just trying to support my clients, and now our little girl Hayden, she turns her nose up at a steakhouse. I mean, it's not good enough. Because we are very fortunate that we get to eat a lot of wagyu or wagyu influenced beef at home. And
that's what I was going to ask you. Is do you like straight wagyu or do you like the cross?
Both have their pluses and minuses. If I'm going to eat straight wagyu, I'd rather it be like a fillet, something kind of small with less fat. That's going to be real tender. To try to eat a full blood wagyu ribeye is very, very rich, and usually you can get 2 or 3 bites into it, and that's about all you want.
Yeah,
you're just full. It's just very, very rich. So if I'm going to eat a ribeye, then I want what they call a Texas wagyu or just a half blood influence.
What's a Texas Wagyu?
The half blood of Texas, usually a registered Angus and a Wagyu.
Have you had any other crosses on that Wagyu? I've heard people crossing them with the Holsteins and stuff. And
yeah, that's a big deal. I haven't had it. I've seen a lot of those carcasses and looked at a lot of that meat and studied up on it, and it's a huge deal. That seems very looks like good beef and looks very profitable. Mm-hmm. But I hadn't had it.
Yeah. To wrap up, go over again where to follow you, and how to look up these schools and get registered for those. So
the best thing is to just go to Champion's website, Champion Genetics at Yahoo, or championgenetics.com, and then our email is championgenetics at Yahoo. You can contact me through there, or of course I'm on Facebook, Instagram, just under my name, Logan McWilliams. Also, Champion is on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the quickest ways to find us, see what we're about, and get a hold of me.
And these schools coming up, they're on Champion's website too?
Yes, the AI schools are on Champion's website. If you want to go to the Morgan school or the Decatur school, those are through me, and they'll just need to give me a call.
Just look you up on Facebook and message you?
That'd be fine. Yep.
And I know you got the flyers and stuff on there too.
Yep.
They can see all that. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. If you're in the cattle industry and want to add that skill set, have something else in your arsenal and your tool belt to provide to increase your value, then get a hold of Logan, go to these schools, look into that. If you own a ranch, it's a great idea to be able to do that in-house yourself instead of hiring it out. Send somebody, go yourself, whatever. Then also on my side, follow me at The Real Crockett Carruthers on Instagram and TikTok, The Wealthy Cowboy Show on YouTube. If you can watch this, if you're just listening to it on the Apple Podcast or Spotify, you can watch it on YouTube at The Wealthy Cowboy Show. Please share it out. If you didn't get value out of it, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you didn't, somebody else might. So go ahead and share it out anyway, even if you didn't like it. And we'll see y'all next week.